So today I'm going to show you how to make a really cute little cupcake bag. Now you can do these in any size you like. The only thing that's going to determine your size isn't the pattern itself, but it's actually the yarn that you use. These are a great little gift. You can give them as a gift, just as a cute little cupcake bag all by itself. Or you can fill it with candy or use it as a gift bag for another kind of treat you might be able to put in there. If you make a larger cupcake bag, it's a great alternative to let's say an Easter basket, or possibly be used in lieu of a stocking, or just simply as a goodie bag for a child's birthday party. These are fun, these are easy, and these are quick. My name is Sig, and what a pleasure it is to have you with me at this time today. It's your interest and your support that allows me to contribute new content and weekly videos. Help us all grow together by tapping that subscribe bar, notification bell, and the like button. I look forward to your comments and always value your feedback. Now let's get started. So for the smaller cupcake purse or gift bag, which I'm going to use as my example today for showing you how to do this project, I am going to use 3 colors. I have a pink, a white, and kind of a, grayish tan color. These 2 colors will be used for the frosting on top of the cupcake, and this color will be used as the cupcake wrapper. I'm also going to use this cording. This will be my cord that cinches the top of the bag and can be used also as a handle. Now, the cording is completely optional. If you'd rather use something else like lace or just chain stitch one of the colors that you already have, similar to what I did with the larger bag, absolutely, you can do that too. The next thing I'm going to need, because I'm using a smaller yarn, basically these are a size 3 yarn, I'm going to use a smaller hook. So in this case, I've chose to use a size D. I'm also going to need a tapestry needle and, as usual, a pair of scissors. And that is it for this beginning level cupcake bag, purse, or pouch. Whatever you want to call it, it's all good. So now let's get started. So with the large cupcake bag, I used a single color. Well, actually, it's kind of a variegated yarn, as you can see, a colorful yarn. Just a single color for the frosting. But on the smaller bag, I'm going to actually do a striping technique. And I'm going to do my frosting in a stripe of pink and white. So I'm going to begin, and the difference between the smaller bag, just a quick note, the difference between the smaller bag and the larger bag is just basically the size of the thread or the yarn you're using and the hook. The only time you may need to use any modifications to this particular super simple pattern I'm showing you today is if you use a blend or a mixture of different sized yarns requiring you to use different size hooks, then you might have to switch things up a bit. But as long as all the yarns you're using is a consistent size, you won't have to change the pattern at all. In fact, the size of the yarn is what's going to change the size of the piece for you. So to begin, we're going to start off with 18 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. Now that you have 18 chains, you're going to go ahead and increase in the second chain from the hook, a single crochets. So in other words, I'm going to make 2 single crochets in that second chain from the hook. Just like so. And then next I'm going to single crochet 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And then those last 2 stitches, I'm going to decrease. Now there's 2 types of decreases, right? There's your regular standard decrease where I would insert my hook and pull through a loop, and then insert my hook into the next stitch and then pull my loop through. And then I would have 3 loops on my hook like so, and then I would take my yarn over and pull that through. But I'm going to show you how to do the invisible decrease. This is the second decrease, and this is the one that I'm going to show you how to use today. So this one is a little different in that what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my hook, and in the back loop, I'm going to insert my hook into that back loop, and then I'm going to bring my hook around and reinsert it into the back loop of the next stitch over. So I would have the 2 back loops on my hook. I would yarn over, and I will then pull that yarn through, and then I would complete my stitch. And then I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to turn my work. Now, once you have the work turned, there's going to be just a little caveat. The side that I have the tail, and you also might consider putting a stitch marker there too, if that's easier for you to use as like kind of like a mental cue. You can stick a little stitch marker right here. This is the side that is always going to be decreased. So whether you're doing your row coming or going, you are always going to decrease on this side. And then the side without the tail or without the stitch marker is always going to be an increase, whether you're coming or going. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So now that we've turned our work, we're going to decrease again. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to insert my hook into that stitch, or the second stitch from the hook basically. And then I'm going into the back loop, and then I'm going to wrap my hook around into the back loop of the next stitch. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull my yarn through and then finish my stitch. Now from here on in, it's all back loop only for this, for the spiral rib look. Okay, and so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to again do 14 single crochets, back loop only. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And then in my last stitch, I'm going to increase. And that means I'm going to put 2 single crochets in the back loop of this last stitch. So 1 and 2. Now for this piece, because I'm actually using 2 colors, I'm making a stripe, now is the time for me to add my next color. And that's going to be white. Now some people would just cut this off and weave in the end. I am not going to do that on this piece because this is the side where I'm going to do all my color changes anyways. So for me, that's just easier. If it's easier for you to take this end and cut it, then and then weave it in, by all means do that. So I'm going to bring in my white, and when changing colors, you always change your color in a way that where you're making that last part of your last stitch, and that makes a nice integration. So I've done that. Now I'm chaining 1. And I'm going to turn my work. And again, since this is my increase side, this is the side I'm always going to increase on whether I'm coming or going. So second loop from my hook, back stitch only. Again, I'm going to increase. I'm going to put 2 single crochets in that back loop. And now I want to single crochet 14, back loop only. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. That leaves me with 2 more stitches, and I'm going to decrease. So again, the invisible decrease, insert into the back loop, and then bring my hook around and reinsert that hook into the next back loop. So you have something that looks like this. And then I'm going to yarn over and pull that yarn through and finish that stitch. Then I'm going to chain 1. And I'm going to turn my work. And then I'm going to decrease again. So in the second stitch from my hook, I'm going to insert my hook. And then I'm going to wrap my hook around and insert it into the back loop of the next stitch. Then I'm going to yarn over and pull that yarn through. And then I'm going to continue and complete my stitch. And then I'm going to single crochet 14. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And then in the last stitch on this row, I'm going to increase. So again, I'm going to insert my hook into that back loop, and I'm going to make 1 single crochet. Now, because I'm actually changing or switching colors, I'm going to go ahead for my second crochet, single crochet. I'm going to insert my hook and I'm going to pull that yarn through, but instead of finishing off that single crochet with what would normally be the last stitch or step, I am now going to bring in my next color. Now, when you bring it in, especially if you're working it the way I am, you want to make sure that your yarn is fairly loose because you don't want to go putting any undue tension on this side of your work. Now I'm going to make a chain and I'm going to turn my work. And so now you can see that we've completed 2 rows of color or 4 complete rows. And this is what I'm going to continue to do. I'm going to repeat this combination for another 38 rows, giving me a total of 42 rows. Now I'm going to continue on and I'm going to meet you back here after we've completed our 42 rows. Now that you've completed your 42 rows, you should have something that looks like this. This diagonal rib swatch. So I've already fastened off and woven in the ends of my white yarn, because with this pink yarn, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go ahead and combine the 2 sides together. And I'm going to do this with kind of an invisible stitch. So I'm going to take my pieces and I'm going to fold them over so that it looks like this, something like this. And right here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to insert my hook into the top 2 loops of my stitch on the swatch, or the part of the fabric that's closest to me, the front fabric. And then I'm going to come and go into the back loop on the swatch or piece of fabric from the back. Then as I go along, I'm going to again insert into the top 2 loops, and then I'm just going to go into this back loop on the back swatch fabric, and I'm going to slip stitch. I'm going to insert my hook through the top 2 loops, insert my hook into the back loop in that second piece of fabric there on the back, and pull my yarn through and slip stitch. I'm going to continue to do that all the way down. Okay, now that I've got that part done, I'm going to fasten this off. We'll get all that woven in. This is the back. And then what I'm going to do is, once I've gotten this 2 sides of my fabrics sewn together, I'm going to flip it. And as you can see, that stitch just disappears right into your fabric. So the whole thing just looks like a complete spiral. So now the next thing I want to do is I want to get my white. And I'm going to again attach it. Just find a stitch and attach it there. And then I'm going to get it set in. And basically I'm going to single crochet in each stitch all the way around. So I will end with 42 single crochets completely around. So now that you've completed your 42 single crochets, go ahead and join back at that very first single crochet, and then chain 2. Next, half double crochet in the same stitch. And then chain 2, and then half double crochet in that third stitch from the last completed stitch. So basically you're going to skip 2 stitches, and you're going to half double crochet, and then half double crochet in the next stitch, just like that. And then chain 2, skip 2 stitches, and half double crochet in the next stitch, and then again half double crochet in the stitch after that, and then chain 2, then skip 2 and half double crochet, and then half double crochet, and continue doing that all the way around. Once you do that, you're going to join your last chain 2 with your first, at the top of your first chain 3 of this round. And then I'm going to chain 1, and again I'm going to do 42 single crochets all the way around. So I'm going to single crochet once in that same space, or in that same stitch, and then I'm going to single crochet in the next stitch, and then a single crochet twice in the chain 2 space, and then single crochet in the next half double crochet, and another single crochet in the next half double crochet. And I'm going to continue doing that all the way around. Back all the way around, I'm going to join. And then I'm going to chain 1. Now for the 4th and final step of this round, I am going to skip a space or a stitch, and then I'm going to double crochet in that next single crochet, and then I'm going to double crochet in that same stitch 4 more times. So I'll have a total of 5 double crochets in this same stitch. And now basically what we're doing is, so we've completed with the eyelets for our cording, but now what we're doing is kind of the whipped cream on top of the frosting. So now I'm going to skip the next single crochet, and I'm going to do a single crochet in the next stitch. And then I'm going to skip a stitch and do 5 double crochets into the next stitch. And when I've done that, I'm going to skip a stitch and single crochet. Then I'm going to skip a stitch and do 5 double crochets in that same stitch, which would be the next stitch. So I'm going to show you one more time, just in case you haven't quite gotten it yet. I'm going to skip this next single crochet, and I am going to single crochet in the next single crochet stitch. And then I'm going to skip this next single crochet, and in the single crochet after it, this is where I'm going to put my 5 double crochets. And once you come to the end, just go ahead and finish off right there in that first single crochet, or I should say in that very first chain stitch. Leave yourself enough tail to weave in. So now you should have the top of your cupcake bag looking something like this. Now let's start on the base. So the next step is to make the cup for our cupcake. And in order to make the cupcake wrapper, we're going to begin by making a standard circle. I'm going to begin by doing an adjustable ring. And I'm going to single crochet 6 single crochets in the ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pull my ring closed, and then I'm going to join in that first single crochet. And I'm going to chain 1. And then in that same stitch, I am going to do 2 single crochets. So 1 and 2. And in each additional stitch, I'm going to also do 2 single crochets. So I should end up with 12 single crochets total in round 2. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now I'm going to join at that first single crochet and chain 1. This time I'm going to do a single crochet in the same stitch, and then 2 single crochets in the stitch following that, and then 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and then 2 single crochets in the next stitch after that. That should leave me with 18 stitches total for round 3. And then I'm going to join again at that first chain stitch there. And then I'm going to make a single chain. And then we're going to start round 4. And in round 4, I'm going to single crochet once, and then single crochet in the next stitch. And then the stitch after that, I'm going to do 2 single crochets. And I'm going to continue that pattern all the way around, and I should end up with a total of 24 stitches. Now that I've completed 24 stitches in round 4, I'm going to again go ahead and join and make a single crochet. And in that same stitch, I'm going to single crochet 1. And then the next stitch, another single crochet. And then the stitch after that, another single crochet. So that'll be 3 single crochets and then an increase. And then 3 single crochets and then an increase. And I'll continue that pattern all the way around, and that will give me 30 on this. And then again, going to join once you've completed round 5 and make a single crochet. Now for round 6, I want to have a total of 36 stitches. And I'm going to do that by making a single crochet in that first or in that same stitch. And then I'm going to single crochet once, and then twice, 3 times, and that will have given me a total of 4 single crochets. And then I'm going to increase, so 2 single crochets in the same stitch for my increase. And that'll give me a total of 6 stitches. And then again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then increase. One, 2, 3, 4, and then an increase. So continue with this pattern until you've gone all the way around, and you should end with 36 stitches. And once you finish round 6, you can go ahead and join. And then make your single chain. And now we're going to do round 7. And for round 7, I'm going to again single crochet in that same space. And then I'm going to do 4 more single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to increase. So that gives me a total of 5 single crochets plus an increase. And then again, 5 single crochets. And then an increase. I'm going to continue around just like this, and I will end with 42 single crochets for round 7. And once you've joined at round 7, this time we're going to go ahead and chain 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And from here, we're going to begin doing a standard rib stitch. So the second chain from the hook, I'm going to single crochet. And then I'm going to single crochet 8 more times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then I'm going to slip stitch into this next single crochet on the round. And then in the next stitch on this round, I'm going to slip stitch one more time. And then I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to turn my work. And then I'm going to single crochet 9 times. So we're going to go to that last single crochet that we made, and I'm going to back loop only, single crochet once, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to turn my work. And then again, back loop only, I'm going to single crochet 9 single crochets. So again, we're going to skip to the second chain from the hook. I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then as before, the next stitch on the round, I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch in there. And then I'm going to slip stitch in the next stitch after that. And then I'm going to make a chain, and I'm going to turn my work. And then I'm going to single crochet 9 single crochets in the back loop only. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now that you've got all the ribbing done around your cupcake wrapper, you're going to want to make sure that the right side of your piece is facing inwards. And we're going to turn the work. And again, just as before, we're going to go ahead and kind of give it that invisible stitch going down. So I'm going to take my hook, and I'm going to insert it in both loops, and then into the piece of fabric behind it, I'm going to insert my hook into the back loop only. And then I'm going to pull it through like a slip stitch. I'm going to insert my hook through both loops in the first layer of fabric, and then in the second layer of fabric, I'm only going to do the back loop only. And then again. And then through the 2 top loops, and then through the back loop only, and slip stitch. I'm going to continue that all the way down. Now that I've made it all the way down, your seam will look pretty invisible, just like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off a nice long tail, because this tail is also going to be what I use to sew the frosting part of my cupcake on with. And I'm going to take my needle, and then I'm just going to weave it in a little bit, and I'm going to work my way up so that it doesn't show on what is going to be the right side of the work. But I want to bring it back up here to the lip of the cup. And I don't want to pull it too tight, because I still want it to be nice and pliable. And so basically this is our cup. And then I'm going to take our frosting topper and we're going to kind of figure out how we want it to sit in there. We just want to bring it down just a little bit, maybe 1/4 of an inch onto the inside of the lip of that cup. And then we're going to sew it after we pin it. We're going to sew it on in such a way that it'll be hidden. So I'm going to kind of do a kind of a stitch on the back side. So if we flipped it around this way, let's say we turned it inside out, for example. So you would see we would only have it down the lip just a little bit, and then we would stitch it onto the cup and going all the way around, stitching each point to each point. And I say that, but when I say point, I mean this ridge right here. So that was a one ridge. And then we just go to where it's lined up with the next ridge. Right? So you just go ahead and line up your ridges and you sew your piece on. Now this piece right here happens to be inside out. You might feel more comfortable doing it right side out. However you're going to sew this on, just make sure you line up each ridge with each ridge, and then your count should work out real nice. All right, we'll see you right back here in just a moment. Okay, so now that you've sewn your piece all the way around, and we turn it right side out, this is what it looks like so far. So let's fasten that off and weave in the ends. And then we'll move on to the next. So the next thing I want to do is try to figure out about how long I would like to have my little ties. Okay, so now the piece that I have is almost perfect. It's maybe a tad long, but not so long I can't do a little bit of trimming. Okay, so basically I've just cut my strip in half. And the first thing I'm going to do is weave an end of one of my handles all the way around. All right, so we're going to have that. Let's say I'm probably, because I want to be able to use it a little bit of a handle and maybe a little bit of a tie, so I want my end to be kind of longish. And I'm going to make a knot right there at about where I want this to end. So that about like that's good. And with this particular cording, I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to cut it off. And then I just got little scraps here I'll put with the rest of my scraps that I kind of saved for other things. And then I don't have it with me, but for this particular cording here, after I'm finished here, I'm going to dab just a little bit of a clear glue at the end of these cordings so that it doesn't fray. And then I'm going to take my other end and I'm going to kind of go in the opposite direction. So this time, I'm going to see about what goes halfway on the other side. And then I'm going to weave this through. But this time I'm just going to work it around opposite of the way I worked down my first bit of cording. I'm going to make sure this side is about as long as this side was in terms of where my knot goes. So I can have both cordings about the same size. And I think that looks pretty close. Okay, I'm going to cut it off. And then I'm just going to, again, glue these in so they don't fray too much. And then the beauty of this Quartz is it closes real nice. So you have your little cupcake shape. Now, if you want it to be more flat on the bottom, you can always cut a disc of some plastic canvas, or maybe just some regular plastic, or maybe you have a disc that'll fit in there, or maybe you have a little cup that fits in there, a little plastic cup that fits in there just nicely too, and that'll give the bottom of this some stability. You may care about that, so if you do, that's all you have to do. Otherwise, you have a great little purse. So it can be filled with candies or whatever little treats you want to go in there. It could be a purse for a doll, a purse for a very small child, a gift bag, as we talked about earlier. You could put treats in it. They can easily double as a different Easter basket. Again, they could be made as big or as small as you would like them to be, using the same exact pattern. The only thing you need to do is just change the size of the yarn or the thread you're using. Now it's time for me to say goodbye. So until I see you wonderful and creative fiber artists again, stay crafty, stay amazing. Have a great week now. Bye-bye.